Okay, guys, welcome to tonight's show. We are live on YouTube tonight instead of our usual Facebook, and we're going to be talking with Dan, aka Dan Drydock. He's a former Navy veteran of the Persian Gulf, and he has previously had or still has cancer. And we're going to bring him into the room. So, with no further ado, let's welcome Dan into the room. Evening, Dan. If you just want to say hello to people who are going to be tuning in.
Hey, Johnny, how you doing? Hey, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it, and it's an honor and privilege to be able to share my journey with you and your team from across the pond. I'm over here in California, USA.
Hey, you're living the dream. I'm jealous. Although Wales is beautiful, I am sort of in the midst of winter, shall we say, and I could definitely do with a nice trip to California for sure.
Come on by. We got plenty of room.
So Dan, obviously looking on your page, you have had a cancer. Was it pancreatic cancer, did you mention, or a hereditary cancer of some description?
Yeah, I have a hereditary colon cancer syndrome, so I had stage 0 colon cancer.
That's amazing. And you are a veteran, a Navy veteran. So do you mind talking to me a bit about your history, sort of about your service, where you served, and a little bit of detailing around that, and then sort of what happened towards the end of service?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and by the way, anything I say, I can neither confirm or deny I had this conversation. So yeah, I served 22 years on active duty in the Navy, and I was assigned to 7 different ships through my 22-year career, and 3 of those ships were deployed at different times to the Persian Gulf. So I'd been over there on deployments in 92, 95, and 2001 before 9/11. And then I had orders or assignment. My last assignment was in Bahrain, which is a little island off the coast of Saudi Arabia. Got there a week before we started the Operation Enduring Freedom campaign, and I stayed over there on the ground for 2 solid years. So I was over there when we kicked off Operation Enduring and Operation Iraqi Freedom campaigns.
That's really impressive. So what did you find, like, we're going to slightly off topic, what did you find the main difference was between the 2 campaigns? So because obviously there was a bit of significant difference in terms of the depth in which they went to.
Well, I was in communications at the station there in Bahrain, so we provided all the frequency support for the ground units, surface ships. So we were really busy. I mean, as you can imagine, these campaigns they just required so much of our mental, ability to just maintain a positive outlook. And I just know what we were involved with. I'd heard different stories from different veteran buddies, some of my shipmates, and other military. We had a lot of allied forces there. So I know in Bahrain, for Enduring Freedom, that seemed to be everyone came through Bahrain before they went over to Afghanistan. And then for Iraqi Freedom, it seemed like a majority of the troops were going up to Kuwait. So that's really all I know about that, because like I said, we were just so busy, just keeping up with the various responsibilities that we had on a day-to-day, watch-to-watch basis, actually.
Man, that's amazing, and thank you so much for your service. I currently still serve myself in the British Army. So yeah, it's a very interesting period in time. It's hard to believe that is now nearly 20 years ago, if not almost exactly 20 years ago, for certainly the start of those operations. Quite scary. Yeah. I notice you're quite fresh-faced as well in some of the photographs on your page that link you to that time. So it's like, it's it scares me that that is that long ago now. So when did you start to get symptoms? Were you always aware that you were at risk to this cancer, or was it something that was new to you? And when did that all start for you?
Well, the thing is, I didn't have any symptoms, and we don't have any family history. I'll just, get to that point. I went when I was 50, actually 51, scheduled my colonoscopy, my first and only colonoscopy at the Veterans Healthcare System. I was in Hawaii at the time. This was in 2012. I retired in 2003, and I go through annual checkups at the VA medical center every year, and we always talked. When I turned 50, scheduled colonoscopy, and we had the colonoscopy, and the results revealed 100 polyps embedded throughout my colon, rectum, and anus. And there was one of the polyps was causing an 80% blockage in my transverse colon. So the recommendation was for me to go next door to Triple Army Medical Center to see the certified genetic counselor to have a gene sequencing DNA test to determine if there was an underlying issue. And I went over there, sat down with the genetic counselor and one of the colorectal surgeons. Actually, they're both colleagues of Dr. Henry T. Lynch. And just moving forward to that, Dr. Lynch is the founding father of hereditary cancer research. Well, the mutation they thought that I had was FAP, familial adenomatous polyposis. And when the results came back, which was about 6 weeks later, and I had enough time to read as much as I could about FAP, which is what they thought I had. When the results came in, it revealed that I had attenuated FAP. And the difference, FAP has an earlier onset and AFAP has a later onset. So the window for AFAP is 50 to 55. So I was right there in that window. And when those results came back, I sat down with my colorectal surgeon and genetic counselor, and the recommendation in the best practice of medicine that has to have a total proctocolectomy with an ileostomy. And so that surgery was going to be 2 weeks later. I already agreed that that was the best move because I didn't want to take any chance of the condition turning the cancer into my bloodstream. So I never had any symptoms. I never had any indication anything was going on, and it was a total surprise to my GI team as well as the genetic counselor and my colorectal surgeon. So
that must have been an exceptionally scary period. Like, how did you feel coming in for what would be a routine checkup for that time in life to then being faced with all of these issues and problems? Like, how did that make you feel?
Well, at first, I look back on my military experience and all the things that I've been exposed to as far as on the shipboard life, just different missions that you're part of and everything. So my mindset was I tend not to think about things I'm unable to control, such as medical issues. What I can control is my positive attitude. And after 5 decades on God's green earth, my positive attitude has brought me this far. Why change now? And another outlook I had was worrying is not the cause of my condition. Therefore, worrying is not going to make it go away. And I look back at some of my Marine buddies. Their mantra was adapt, improvise, and overcome. So I took that on board as well. I embraced this. I embraced it, and I knew that it wasn't going to be an obstacle for me. It was going to be a challenge. And the challenge is to overcome adversity. I've been I've experienced a lot of adversity in the military, both professionally and personally. So, this was just, I'm up for the challenge. And I asked lots of questions to a medical team, both at the VA and the Triple Army Medical Center where I had the surgery. And it was just amazing. It really is. And it still is amazing. I enjoy the journey. I've learned a lot. I mean, I've still got a lot to go. I mean, I'm new in this. I'm only 8 years into this. I mean, I know I have colleagues that have had this, an ostomy for, 30, some of them 30 plus years. So I'm just a young pup when it comes to, to the condition. Now, the hereditary part, let me just jump forward. The hereditary colon syndrome I have will impact other organs. So it's already manifested in my stomach and small intestine. In fact, we're at the point now because I have to have routine surveillance, which is every 12 months. As of last September, now it's going to be every 6 months for the do 3 different types of scopes in my stomach and small intestine. And I've actually been referred to Stanford University Cancer Center for pancreas sparing duodenectomy resection, meaning they're going to take out the lower 2 parts of my stomach and about 10 centimeters of my small intestine and my gallbladder. And they're going to do some resections. We have to spare the pancreas because we need to avoid the hereditary cancer syndrome, AFAP, to reach my pancreas, because then that's going to be a whole different story. So this is all preventive. It was my understanding that this is the best practice of medicine to consider this surgery. And I knew this was coming down the line. I knew this 6 years ago, that I'm going to get to a juncture in my life where I'm going to be faced with another surgery. So, but I have no symptoms, no side effects. I'm not on any medication, no chemo, no radiation. I just take this, my journey. Each moment I'm enjoying it, and just go about. My mantra is always forge ahead with a purpose, and that's actually a spinoff of the acronym AFAP. So that's just just different ways that my mind works to keep me moving forward, in a positive manner. I send out positive vibes, positive thoughts. I get that back tenfold, and that just keeps me going. And that's actually one of the reasons I ended up getting the opportunity to collaborate with you and your on your platform, is because I'm always reaching out, looking for opportunities locally, nationally, and internationally to share my journey.
Well, Dan, I think that's really impressive, and your mindset and your process that you're going through is nothing but amazing. And to be able to hold that presence of mind through all the stuff that is coming at you is, it's testament to yourself. So for the people that are tuning in, who is Dan? Who is Daniel?
Who is Daniel?
Yeah. Who is you? What about yourself?
Okay, I was born in Philadelphia in November of 1960. My dad worked for the Pennsylvania Railroad, so we had relocated several times while I was growing up, and we ended up in the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. And when I graduated high school, 2 years after high school, I joined the Navy. I wanted to travel, and I wanted to travel the world, and the opportunity presented itself that the Navy would be able to accommodate my desire, and I just enjoyed. I've visited 22 different countries in my 22-year career. I count the countries that I visited, whether I flew through them or a port visit. I count them because I was there. But I just love to travel, and I love to learn different customs, cultures, and courtesies. It's been an amazing journey. I can't hear you, Johnny.
I was just asking, what are the main things that sort of you enjoy doing? Like, what are your main hobbies now you've left the military and things like that?
Well, I like the outdoors. I like to walk for my exercise and do some reading. I listen to a lot of music. Anything between 1955 and 1975 is my favorite era. Um, and then, a lot of advocacy opportunities I have writing guest blogs, writing articles for various organizations, being a guest on a podcast like this. And I've been a live case presentation for the University of Hawaii and the University of Texas there in San Antonio. In fact, I'm going to be a week from today. I'm going to be doing a I'm going to be a live case presentation on a virtual genetics and GI malignancy conference in the University of Texas Health Science Center in San Antonio. I was there live 2 years ago, and they've offered me the opportunity to do it virtual. So that's going to be in front of about 225 medical students in their third year of residency, and they have to. We do the pedigree live. We have two certified genetic counselors at the university, and then we have three GI doctors, and then what they do is they'll introduce me to the students, and then they'll give them a little bit of information, and then the students have to guess what I have. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So advocacy is a big part of who you are, and what is it that started getting you into it? How did you find your way into being a patient advocate?
Well, that's a great question. I was actually in the hospital, and before I went into hospital, I was always reaching out to numerous organizations just to find out as much as I could, and as a result of that, when I'd get a hold of one organization, they'd ask if I got a hold of, they'd give me another list of three or four different individuals or groups. And so I was already geared up for that even before my surgery. So what happened was my wound and ostomy nurse came in. She came in every day. I was in for 12 days, and she came in every day. And I met her prior to. And so my surgery was on a Friday, and I believe it was Saturday. She came in with this magazine, and it was by the Phoenix magazine. Phoenix magazine is published on behalf of the United Ostomy Associations of America, and they have a beginner guide for individuals with an ileostomy. And the cover of this magazine had a U.S. Army warrant officer who was a pilot. He was a helicopter pilot. He had colon surgery, so he has an ostomy, and he was able to get cleared to fly. He was the first pilot to be certified with an ostomy to fly and in combat. He was in Afghanistan during Operation Iraqi Freedom. And so I was reading this article about him, so I actually reached out to him, and I went to the writer of that article. I contacted her through the 10th Mountain Division, the U.S. Army there in Fort Drum, New York, and she passed my information along to him. And about 3 hours later, he messaged me. So we started talking on the phone. It was amazing. So that started a lot of it, because I'm like, well, this is awesome. Here he is, active duty. I'm retired, and I mean, what can I do to share my journey with my fellow veterans, with my the folks in my community, and then it branched out from there. So that's where it got local. It started locally, and then it went nationally. And then as the months and years went on, I ended up getting in contact with the Ostomy Canada Society, the Ostomy Association of Ireland. In fact, I just did a podcast with their organization, A Bigger Life. They have a Behind the Pouch podcast. They just released their podcast on me this past September. The Ostomy Canada Society, they asked me to write a guest. They asked me to write an article for their magazine, and that was published in June of 2018. And then in July of 2019, the Rare Revolution magazine, which is based in the UK, they published an article in their magazine about my journey. So, I guess I can consider myself an international man of mutation.
Well, you're certainly getting yourself about the place, and that's great to see that there is that interest about your story, because it is an amazing story, and it's important, really, I feel, for these stories to be shared so that anyone that's coming into the fray with these kinds of diseases has an awareness about how they can cope and see people that have gone before realize that there is a way through. So it's amazing that you're able to do that. So speaking about your story, like you mentioned that obviously you'd gone in for a routine checkup and discovered all of these things. And then you were given 2 weeks notice that you were then going to have surgery and an ostomy. And I'm just wondering, when they started talking about an ostomy, did you know what an ostomy was? And when they've briefed you on what that was, did you have any concerns or worries about living with a bag?
Well, it's funny. I mean, honestly, I didn't even know how to spell ostomy, so I'm fumbling there trying to write it down on a pad. And so this was early. This was shortly after I had my DNA test, and I had to wait to 6 weeks for the results. I thought it was going to be 3 weeks, but it gave me time. So I got to read about it. So I had no idea. I never knew anybody that had an ostomy. I didn't know how many different types of ostomies there were, and I'm still learning about them. I mean, my condition, I have a permanent ostomy. So majority of the ostomates that I've met through the years, both in person and virtually or via email, they have temporary ostomies because of whatever condition. There's so many different conditions that would lead to having an ostomy. Besides, mine was all planned. I've met and been able to communicate with several that had emergency surgery and woke up, and it was a whole different world for them. I mean, it's a different world for all of us. It's just a matter of, what leads us to having an ostomy. But I just read as much as I could. I asked as many questions as I could, and I was ready. And I never looked back. I knew that this was going to be a life-saving surgery, and I look forward to it. And what opportunities I would have to give some feedback and insight, be a source of inspiration and encouragement for those who hear my journey. There's an old cliche: you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Well, about 20 years ago, 20 years ago, I had heard there's a flip side, that there is a way you can influence that horse to drink by feeding it salt on the way. So my point is, if you go out to the farms and ranches and you have these salt blocks, these salt licks for the cows and the horses, and that's where they can get a lot of their minerals and nutrients from that salt. Then when they get to the watering hole, they drink. Well, my point of the story is, I'm hoping that sharing my journey will be a source of inspiration and encouragement, be a source of salt for those individuals. So when it comes time to talk to their medical doctor, the medical team about preventive checkups, that it will make them thirsty. So hope that makes sense.
Well, no, I think that's a great analogy. Is if you create the thirst first, then obviously that will drink of its own volition. So yeah, I get that, makes perfect sense. So what kind of ostomy have you got, and how was it initially waking up from the surgery with that ostomy?
I have an ileostomy, and when I woke up from the surgery, it was the surgery is just a little over 6 hours. When I woke up, I mean, I was really weak, but I knew where I was. I knew what happened, and one of the first questions I had in the recovery room was, "Did you find everything you were looking for?" And they said yes, and we'll have the result, the pathology report, in 7 to 8 days to confirm. And so I had 35 staples in my abdominal area because I had a midline incision that was about 9 inches long. Where my anus used to be, I had 13 staples, and I'm 6'1", and then I was about 100 and maybe 148 pounds. Um, and the hospital bed, we're at a 45-degree angle, so I had to get up a couple. They had me get up a couple times a day to go for short walks, but I knew. I mean, I just wanted my body to heal. There's no resections, so we just took the colon, rectum, and anus out, and so my ileostomy is the end of my small intestine that makes the ostomy. And my ostomy nurse came in, and she went through a lot of things with me, equipped me to be able to take care of myself. Even had a little DVD player with I use Hollister products, and there was a Secure Start beginner guide for ostomates using Hollister products, and I watched that DVD, and every day, sometimes a couple of times a day, she'd come in to see me, and I'd ask questions, and when I got home, I was self-sufficient, and I've been self-sufficient ever since. I've never had anybody help me. And I go in and see my ostomy nurse at least once a year. Sometimes they want me in a little earlier. We just talk about different things, but no, I just go about my life as if nothing happened. I mean, I've learned so much, reading about the ostomy. I mean, it's one thing to, theory is one thing, but practical application is the other part, which is the most important. So I was mentally prepared for it, put it that way, and I still am. And like I said, I just go about my life, and I do a lot of walking. I have a puppy. We go out in the backyard and go out there and play, and just I don't even think about it.
Do you think that your military career allowed you to have a mindset to wake up and stay in the fight?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh, I can't even imagine what it would be without. I mean, I'm a positive person as it is. However, the military, we're all about, at least I was in communications, and I operated equipment. I wasn't a technician. I operated equipment. However, we had to do preventive maintenance on this equipment. And through my whole career, I'd always been involved with being a work center supervisor to schedule this maintenance. I had my shipmates. We had schedules, weekly schedules for preventive maintenance on all of our equipment. So no matter if the ship was underway, in port, or in dry dock, it didn't matter. There was various preventive maintenance that we had to do. So that kept me. I thought about that a couple weeks ago. That was a significant part of. I always go for my medical checkups in the military. You have them quite often, and so I was thinking about, the experience I had with the preventive maintenance for equipment in the Navy, and how much of an impact that had in my life once I got diagnosed with this condition. So it just, it went back to my military days, and it's pretty cool to think about it, though. But yeah, the military experience had, I would say, had a significant part with my ability to adapt, improvise, and overcome.
I think that's incredible, and it's such an important part. So for people that maybe haven't got that experience in life, what sort of advice would you give to those people that, are either just starting to have those discussions with their medical team or are about to start waking up, having gone through this process and start a whole new life with surgical intervention, be that an ostomy or just like a bowel resection or something like that? What advice would you give to these people?
Oh, well, have a dialogue with your family members and your close friends, also with your medical team. Jot down questions whenever you think of them, and whenever you have these discussions, ask these questions, get some feedback and insight. Then there's lots of resources out there. There's for individuals and organizations that will provide a lot of information to hopefully comfort them and guide them along. But I reached out. I started gathering as many organizations or individuals pertaining to my condition, as well as having an ostomy. So that my resources continue to grow, even to this day. I'm being, I'm having the opportunity to collaborate with individuals or organizations that, that I hadn't even reached out to before, or they haven't reached out to me. So just ask lots of questions. I mean, this is it's a life-changing event, and it's a life-saving event. So I took it on board. I embraced it, and just moved. I just adapted to. And by the way, I created an acronym for the word adapt, and that's attitude determines the ability for a positive transformation. I penned that probably a year and a half after my surgery, because I always heard the word adapt, and so I just broke it down to where that's what it meant to me is, my attitude determined the ability for a positive transformation. So.
Yeah, and I think that's great. And like looking at things like that really do help you to refocus. I think like one of mine is PAL, so it's a positive attitude to life. So one of the things we obviously were just talking about was how your military career helped you. And one of the things that for me was that kept me in the fight was that I was fighting a battle. But what I found actually as I moved into the years, so I've gone through my immediate danger, shall we say, in terms of the surgeries. I've now got a J pouch. And as I sort of got out of the immediacy of the surgery and recovered to what was considered normal function, I kind of then started to wallow a bit. And I'm just wondering, what is it for you that keeps you in that fight? What is it for you that keeps you in that positive mindset? And like, is there any sort of tangibles that you're able to talk about and share with us?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, let me go back to when I was first diagnosed. I mentioned that my certified genetic counselor and my colorectal surgeon were colleagues of Dr. Henry T. Lynch, who's the founding father of hereditary cancer research. He was at Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska, and my counselor and surgeon had informed Lynch that I had the mutation. So he was informed about this and was actually tracking it. Well, 7 months after my surgery, Dr. Lynch shows up in Hawaii to do some academic lectures, and he was 86 years old. He was still practicing. He was still doing his research, every Monday through Friday, and at the Creighton University. So I was introduced to Dr. Lynch in private before one of his academic lectures, and then we sat down and had lunch and my genetic counselor was there, the University of Hawaii Cancer Center. And for an hour and 50 minutes, we talked about my condition and his, research, what different things he's been involved with over the decades. And whenever I go to a medical function or a medical facility, I have a binder I carry with me with my DNA test results and my pathology reports, as well as my endoscopic procedure results. And so I had those with me, and he ended up reading them right there in front of us. And well, that sparked an interest. I wanted to learn as much as I could. I have received some of Dr. Lynch's peer-reviewed publications on his research about my mutation. Well, the mutation I've been diagnosed, it's not mine, but I have it now. And so that, the conversation, then Dr. Lynch and I stayed in contact through email for a period well, actually, ever since my diagnosis until June of last year, June 2nd of 2019, at the age of 91 and a half, Dr. Lynch passed away. But I've been in contact with him. I send him over my pathology reports for him to review, give me his feedback and insight. I also had sent a few of my articles that I had written to have him give me some insight and feedback on various things that I mentioned in the article. But that drove me. That continues to drive me. In fact, what it is now is my life is devoted to advocacy for hereditary colon cancer awareness in hopes of continuing the legacy of Dr. Lynch and the importance of early detection. I can't hear you, brother.
I think that's an incredible thing. And what I'm getting from you is that it's essentially what is keeping you in the fight is doing something that is bigger than yourself and being part of something, contributing to something that is bigger than just you. And like by delivering to a community, being part of a community. Would you say that's true?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's why I like the efforts I started locally and then, my advocacy, then nationally. And of course now, in the last 3 years, I've been, going international. So, and there's so many more opportunities out there. I just continue to reach out. I've been communicating with a colorectal surgeon in Pakistan. There's a ostomy group in India I've been communicating with recently. Now there's a Find a Cure organization in the UK. I've been collaborating with them since the spring. In fact, they just had a student. I forgot the name of I should remember the program. But anyway, they had medical students. They would pair with individuals who had a rare disease, and so I entered this the contest as a rare disease patient, and they paired me with a medical student she's in her 4th year of medical school at the University of Dundee in Scotland, and she's from Singapore, and she's going to she wants to be an oncologist. So she had to write an essay, and the deadline was 2 weeks ago. So it's already been submitted. So now we're waiting for the outcome of that. And but how cool that is! I never even heard about anything like that before. But then Find the Cure also has the rare disease showcase that they put on last week. It was a 3-day virtual event, and it was international. And you can, so I've been learning about there's other organizations out there and individuals that I've been introduced to.
I think that's incredible. I think the fact
more
that you're
connected with the group in Australia.
Yeah, I think that's incredible, and the fact that you're having interaction across the globe and finding so many ways in which to give back to just people that you've never even met. just for the good of the community and the good of helping others with these diseases is amazing. One of the things that we talked about, and I don't know if you've talked about it through your advocacy, maybe as much, but one of the main people, or one of the main things, sorry, some of my words tonight, that people have concerns about when they get told about ostomies is things like dating and being intimate with another person whilst having an ostomy, and people get a little bit freaked out, a little bit concerned about that. I'm just wondering if you would mind just maybe talking a little bit about your experiences as a gentleman with an ostomy in regards to dating and being intimate with another person.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great question. Well, a lot of my opportunities to meet folks, is because of my social media, Facebook. I try to focus on ostomy related and hereditary cancer topics or updates on my Facebook. So and a lot of positive quotes and things of that nature. So when I meet people, whether it's in person or digitally or virtually, they know what I have because it's all over my profile. So I'm upfront. I'm very upfront about it, and I love talking about it. I mean, because we have to silence that stigma. We need to that the an ostomy is nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. There's there's so many different conditions, situations that lead to ostomy surgery, whether it be permanent or temporary. Look at it this way: I knew mine was going to be permanent from the get-go, and I just embraced that even more. And I've had the opportunity to talk with numerous ostomy groups in locations over the years, and just be upfront. That's all I. There's, like I said, it's let's get rid of that stigma. It's a life-saving surgery. So let's make it a positive. I can't hear you, Johnny.
I think that's great, and I think working to reduce that stigma is such an important aspect for ostomy community, because it is a stigma, and it's something that people don't need to hold on to. And actually, whenever we do end up discussing it, more often than not, people are very open and very understanding about it. Do you think it's your forwardness that maybe affords you to be a little bit more comfortable?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I'm just, I'm very open about it, and always have been. And besides, to me, the more open I am, the more I learn about it. I don't know everything about it. I know enough that, I'm comfortable with it. I learn different things through the, I'm still learning, but like I said, I embrace it, and there's no shame in asking questions, whether it be to a fellow ostomate or to you wound an ostomy nurse, your medical team, any other members of the medical team. There's there's no such thing as a stupid question. Put it that way, because this is our life, and let's make it as comfortable as we can.
Yeah, I think that's so right. It is our life, and making it as comfortable as we can is so important. It's very difficult to sort of encourage people, I think, sometimes to take that gap. Like you're saying, it comes back to, like, you can lead a horse to water. Maybe shows like this and the work that you do will hopefully make them thirsty, so that actually when we do lead them to the water, they do still want to drink. Because it's such a difficult thing to talk about sometimes, or if you don't have that peace of mind or that confidence to talk about it instantaneously or as part of who you are, it can lead you to having hang-ups about it. I think I'm not sure how much interaction you've had with other people that have got issues in terms of talking about their ostomy or their condition to other people that maybe don't have it. I don't know. I find that people within our sort of support groups, they're very comfortable talking to others with the disease, but when it comes to talking to people that maybe don't have it, they really, really struggle from that aspect. What have you found whilst you've been doing your advocacy work?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I've met a lot of ostomates that are very reserved, and that's fine. It's a personal decision. I mean, but I go out. I'm very forward, and whether it be an ostomate or a caregiver, or just colleagues of mine, or folks I just come across. I've had some individuals that didn't even know that I had an ostomy. I mean, so. And they say, "Wow, I would have never known." I said, "Well, that's the key right there. That's exactly what I'm trying to get across, is a positive image, that life goes on. You just go about your daily activities, and like I said, it's there's a lot of things to keep in mind, of course. However, the more questions I've asked, from the beginning, and even till this day. I mean, just be open about it, and focus on moving forward. That's the key, moving forward, and that's where another reason why, my spin on the acronym AFAP, always forge ahead with a purpose. I'm looking for ways to share, my journey as a source of inspiration and encouragement. And let's, like you said, let's silence that stigma.
With your profile being so active on social media, have you noticed a pickup in trending towards body positive images for people with disabilities, for people with ostomies? It's certainly seen a pickup in the UK. I'm not sure what things are like across there in California.
Yeah, there's been that's a great question also. Yeah, I've seen a huge impact, and increase in body positive, articles, guest blogs, individuals, writing for these different, bloggers. And that's the thing, we just need to continue it. And this platform is awesome because it's going to provide, yet another opportunity. There's so many out there. There's so many opportunities, and not everybody wants to talk about it, and that's perfectly fine. As long as the individuals are going about their life and as comfortable as they can. I mean, I'll do the speaking for them. I have no problem with that.
I think that's incredible. And you're right. You know what I mean? Like, being a prominent profile person, 3 Ps, well done, on social media, and being an advocate within multi different forums. It's not for everybody. And I think that's something, for us to realize that, not everybody needs to be standing on a soapbox and preaching about their condition. I think for me, I just want to maybe make people feel a little bit more comfortable about sharing with people that they are close to, as opposed to perhaps jumping up and down on a train platform, screaming out to the world. But yeah, I think that's the other side of it, is that people like yourself and myself, we're more than willing to put ourselves in that position and give that voice to the community. Which is brings me on to like my next question. Is one of the topics, certainly in the UK, that has gained a lot of traction over the last sort of 12 months is mental health and the mental health support around chronic disease and chronic conditions. Because it's, a life-changing thing whenever you get condition or get diagnosed with a chronic condition, you know, something like cancer or something like IBD, and in particularly other diseases where there isn't actually, you know, potentially a cure. You know, and it's something that I don't believe potentially there is enough of, or there's a real registration yet within our healthcare services to provide that element without someone having to seek it extra. I don't know what it's like in California. Would you mind just talking about that for us? Like, what's your experience with mental health support for yourself in California, and is there work that you're doing around that?
Well, that's a great question. I've never been asked that one, so that's awesome. Well, you know, as far as mental health, behavioral health, I I was asked by my colorectal surgeon, and it was actually during a conversation with my genetic counselor the day that the results came back with my DNA test, that I needed the surgery, and of course, the date would have been 2 weeks after that. That was one of the items that was on a list that my colorectal surgeon asked me about, having a social worker visit, and that's and I actually had several social workers come visit me while I was in the hospital, and but I was, like I said, I was positive, I was forward. They always asked us, if you need to see someone, behavioral health or mental health professional, you let us know, and we'll get you set up for it. The resources are there. I mean, I did see a psychologist and a psychiatrist after my surgery. However, it wasn't about my surgery. It was just a lot of things on the home front that I needed to make sure that I had do preventive maintenance, basically, to make sure that I was going through the right, the making the right choices, for what was going on the home front. But it helped out. It's just like, if you're in your vehicle and you hear a noise, you want to take it into the mechanic, or if you have a condition, your body, you go see your primary care doctor and see if there's an underlying issue. But mental health, behavioral health is very important. But it has been getting a lot of traction. I've been involved or collaborating with, Rare Revolution and Find a Cure, both there in the UK. So I've been hearing and reading about mental health recently here in the US, as well as Canada. To my knowledge, yeah, it's getting a lot of traction as well. But once again, it's important for the individuals, the ostomates, to be upfront with their family members, their close colleagues, and medical team if they need. There's no shame in asking for help. And hopefully, once again, that's another part of the advocacy opportunity, is to be a source of inspiration and encouragement. I mean, we all have trials and tribulations. It's just a matter of how we overcome them, and we can't handle it on our own. I couldn't handle it on my own. I have, but like I said, I send out positive thoughts and positive vibes. I get that back tenfold. So I could have, I have a positive attitude, because attitude is permanent. Mood is temporary. So you can be in a bad mood, you still have a positive attitude. It's just a matter of how you overcome, that bad mood. So, I mean, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of sense in what you're saying. I think for us in the UK, there's definitely been a shift towards trying to improve our mental health approach, but there's certainly we're quite swept up in recommending communities to be part of, and I guess that's part of that encompassing piece. But I do think within healthcare, we kind of focus too much on the immediate diagnosis and dealing with the immediate issues, and don't screen quite as well to identify the population at risk, should we say. I think that's something that we could potentially do, because sometimes people don't realize that they're in a position where they need help. And it's not regular, but it's definitely a concern I have, is that people can slip into states of depression or other types of mental illness without realizing that they're doing it, and kind of forcing people away from themselves. And I guess it can be quite a difficult place to be in. I think we're quite blessed with our military experience in having that positive attitude. And, for me, it's slightly different towards your attitude, and it's more discipline and motivation. So where motivation is great, but it's short-lived, it's discipline that makes you attain those goals and attain that getting out of bed in the morning at 7 a.m. when it's cold. It's similar to your attitude. I think discipline versus motivation, attitude versus moods. But yeah, I completely agree. The next question that I've got for you is one of my favorite ones in the show, and I call it the 3 truths. I basically robbed it off a guy called Lewis Howes, who does a business podcast and lifestyle podcast with a lot of people giving insights to their mental processes and about who they are and how they conduct themselves. And it's an interesting one for me, for our community. But essentially, your time on earth is coming to an end, or about to end. Not necessarily that you're dying, just time on earth. We can take that as far as we want to take it. But essentially, everything you've ever created is disappeared. So anything you've ever done, everything you've ever created is removed, and there's no way for people to access it. But you have the opportunity to leave 3 truths, or aka 3 life lessons that you think the world should learn. What would your 3 truths be?
Oh, that's a great question. I love this one. I love them all, but this is awesome. My 3 truths would be, the first one would be, is my mantra: always forge ahead with a purpose. So that's just my life. I took the spin on the AFAP acronym, and you take a negative, turn it into a positive. So that's my first truth. My second truth would be the word adapt. Attitude determines the ability for a positive transformation. Here I am with a hereditary colon cancer syndrome, and a permanent ileostomy. So I've adapted to life with the mutation and a permanent ostomy. And my third truth would be the word faith. Just in general, what is faith? It's believing in something you can't see. You can look outside and see the tree branches and the leaves swaying in the breeze. You can't see, you're unable to see the breeze, however, you can see the effect of it. So what is faith? I took the word faith, and broke it down into an acronym: full assurance, influence through hope. Because faith is the ability to have hope in something you can't see, and hoping for a positive outcome. So that's my 3 truths. Always forge ahead with a purpose. Then the ADAPT acronym: attitude determines the ability for a positive transformation. And then faith, full assurance, influence through hope. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I think they're incredible. Like, I'm loving the acronyms. Obviously, with my military head, we love acronyms in the military, don't we? But yeah, forging ahead, adapting for that positive outcome, and faith, I think, is such an incredible thing. And I think that belief in something that you can't see, and giving yourself that hope, I think they're great ones to live by. No one's ever actually come at me with 3 separate acronyms that they've made up themselves as well. So that's a first for me. But no, that's brilliant. Dan, I'd just like to appreciate you as we come towards the end of the show, and just say thank you so much for coming on. It has, the short time that I have bumped into you on social media has been incredible. And, the work that you're doing, the interaction that you're having with multiple different communities across the world is fantastic. And, we're not getting any younger. And the fact that you're doing things as a retired gentleman with such a solid service behind you for your country is incredible. And just thank you so much for basically advertising yourself with this positive attitude and showing yourself that you can still live a full life with an ostomy. You can still survive cancer, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's an end. And coming through it, cheerfulness in adversity is one of our commando codes, and I think you are the epitome of that. So I salute you.
Thank you. I'm just going to pop comment. Let me, if I have an opportunity. There's an old cliche about the wind. We're unable to change the wind. However, we can adjust our sails. And after, being on 7 different ships in my 22-year career, I'm good at adjusting.
And that is the truth. That is the truth. I'm just going to pop you off screen now and say cheerio to everybody, and then I'll pop you back on and we'll have a quick chat once they've closed down the call.
All right. Thank you very much, Johnny. I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, guys, thank you for joining me for this episode. It's been a pleasure hosting Dan on the show. Incredible guy, a lot of interesting stories through his life there. And it's amazing to see just what being positive and having that correct attitude to affect positive change can do, and having that faith to give yourself some hope and working for something bigger, I think are incredible attributes of an incredible man. So that's it for us this evening, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.